much for your patience. This is our first Mighty Networks live session, so you're all here. You're part of history, so we appreciate everybody. So everyone's here. I think I'm gonna kick this thing off. I kept you all waiting long enough.
Have you recorded?
Yep, we are recording right now.
Ooh, sorry.
No, it's true, because I would have been ashamed to do all this and not have it recorded. Thank you everyone so much for being here. My name is Ben Yerkeson, the founder of Nexus Voyagers, and we are super excited for the first of many incredible sessions with Women Plus and Web3. We have some incredible collaborators here who are going to speak on a lot of awesome things that they've worked on in the past and what we can expect in the future from this amazing group. Before we get into that, I just want to give a little context, a little lay of the land. 2023 is here. We've all been in a bear market for a while, and we see you, the people still building out there, the people still creating in NFTs, Web3, Metaverse, and beyond. And what we're creating here with the Nexus Voyagers Network is a global network and ecosystem to support those still building in the bear market and help people to revitalize, re-energize, and revamp their NFT projects, because we believe that through the power of the global network and a community, that's how we could all find success and things could turn around. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing here with Nexus Voyagers Network. And we're very, very excited to introduce this monthly series in 2023. And we're very grateful for everyone who's here. Just a little quick housekeeping. If you haven't already, feel free to join us in the Mighty Networks. That's kind of where we're having our conversations, discussing trends in Web3, the future of what's happening with NFTs, and kind of just supporting each other and creating this ecosystem. And our NFT mint is actually live right now. So if you go to nexusvoyagers.com and want to be featured on an upcoming event or a podcast, mint a Nexus Voyagers NFT and join the ecosystem. But you don't need a mint to be part of this thing. We just want everyone to be here and support each other and feel the positive vibes and just know that there's a positive future to the space. So without further ado, I want to first pass over to the Nexus Voyagers Network partner and co-founder, Frank Casal, to say a few words about the Women Plus and Web3, and then we're going to kick this thing off. So again, thank you everyone so much for being here, and I'm very excited to have you all.
Great, thanks, Ben. Yeah, thanks, Ben. And, greetings all. I'm delighted to be here. Primarily here just to show my enthusiasm and show my support for Allison and the team here and all the women in Web3 and Web Plus. I'm a big believer in Web3. I'm a big believer in the metaverse. And I spend a good chunk of my time either working with those that are already in play and have momentum, just looking for some jet fuel to kind of move things along. But just as importantly are those of you who are watching or participating in discussions like this that are maybe at the early stages, maybe you're struggling, or maybe you have an idea and you're a woman in the space and you need some encouragement, you need some role models, you need some really sharp people to connect with to help you. That's it. So I'm here to support this team, as Ben mentioned, and at the end of the day, we want to help you succeed. So that's it. I'll pass it over to you, Allison. I'm going to duck away so I don't distract.
Yep, thank you very much. Thank you. And thank you for joining us this morning and for wandering off. And we will catch up with you really soon. Very much appreciate it. So Ben is going to stay around, otherwise he will be closing off our room. And we're hoping that won't happen. So firstly, a massive welcome to those of you who have joined us. Again, thank you to Ben. Thank you to my co-host, Sharonda, and Tammy, who we will get to in a moment. So I just wanted to say a great good morning. It's Monday. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, because we have people from those 3 different time scales here today. So how we're gonna run through this, we committed to kind of be here until 4 p.m. my time, 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. So what we're going to do is we're going to run through a few things to start with, and then we're going to kick off. So how the session today is going to go through. Firstly, Sharonda, Tammy, and I are going to give you an elevator pitch. And I got this concept because somebody asked me recently, can you give me an elevator pitch of who you are, Alison? I was like, what? Isn't that how you do pitch decks? Anyway, so we're going to each do an elevator pitch on who we all are. Then we're going to move on to some discussion around ambitions, our ambitions in the new internet world of Web3. We're going to then talk a little bit about inclusion. what that means to us as individuals, and then we're going to talk about a concept which I personally love called edgewalkers. So that's how we're going to run through the session. We do have a slide deck, and I'm going to put that up a little bit, and then I'm going to take it down so it's a little bit interactive. We have a small group today. We will grow over the next few months, but if anyone has a question, a comment, or their own word that describes some of these things we're going to talk about, please do drop that in the chat. And then at the end, we're absolutely open the floor for us all to have a discussion if people want to. So on that note, I am going to share my screen. We are going to get this pitch perfect. Hopefully we have my screen up. So thank you very much. Get a thumbs up for that someone can see my screen. Perfect. Thank you very much. So, okay. So welcome today. So if I can open the floor with, the first one's me, but I don't want to start with me. So I'm going to kind of go backwards and jump backwards and forwards. Are you happy to give us an elevator pitch on yourself?
Sure. So hello. My name is Tammy Maggs, and I have been in Web3 now for a little over a year and a half. I have a sales and marketing background, and fully switched over to Web3 about a year and a half ago. And you know, I am 50. I will be 52 years old, and this year. So it is a brand new experience, and one that I am very, very happy to share with you, and excited to let you know about the opportunities and possibilities here in Web3 for other women my age and like me.
Cool. Thank you very much, Tammy. And I'm going to jump over to Sharonda.
Good morning, everyone. Hi, thank you all so much for being here, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this day. My name is Sharonda. I've been a nurse now for the past almost 20 years, 17 to be exact, mainly working in acute care. And following COVID, I experienced a bunch of burnout, started searching for new career paths. And in that search, I stumbled across Web3. My youngest son is an artist, and he was telling me about NFTs, and I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole really quickly. I've done so much research. I've tried to learn as much as I can. And ultimately now I'm the co-founder of the Huddle DAO, which we intend to be the first nursing DAO in America. So I'm working on building that. And I'm just so excited about this transition away from nursing into something so new. It's a passion like I've never experienced before. And I'm happy to be here to talk to you more about it today.
Thanks. We are going to come back to that many, many times, Sharonda, the nurse DAO, definitely. So, I'm just going to quickly jump in. So I am Alison Alexander. I also am going to start with my age. I am 54. I'm 55 this year. Sorry, 55. I'm 54. And this is an important point about sharing ages in that elevator pitch of actually anyone can join the new iteration of the internet, Web3. And we think it's really great. We are three older women who are also talking about this and the transition we've made. So my first career was as a public servant. I was a public servant for 32 years in the UK. I was the chief executive of local services for people, and I was responsible for ensuring community got the services they need: education, health, housing, streets, everything. And then my second career is I was lucky enough to pivot into virtual reality, and literally worked in virtual reality for 2 years, using it to help train police officers, health, teachers, nurses, everyone possible, to empathize better with children, particularly vulnerable children. And now I'm the co-founder of Meta Campus, and we are here to help everyone transition into Web3. So that is us. So great to have everyone here. And over the time, we've all got such richness in our histories of what we've done, our previous histories. And as a thing that I think we want to show with people over the next few months is our lives in the past are making us successful in our pivoting and transitioning into Web3. And we're going to talk about that on occasions, and we're going to draw on all those skills that we've got. So, but before we do that, so I am going to jump back over, and I am going to kick off the floor with, we wanted to talk, or to particularly share from our perspective, what are our personal ambitions for this new world that we sometimes call the next iteration of the internet. We sometimes call it the Web3, all of those different words. Yeah. So just thought we'd share some of those thoughts. So this time I'm going to start with Sharonda, if that's okay, to kick off with words, sentences, images. What comes to mind when you're asked, what's your ambitions for Web3, Sharonda?
Innovation comes to mind. Innovation, possibility, an opportunity that maybe I, didn't recognize before. Those are just words that comes to mind. Sentences, as a sentence, I believe the future will be decentralized. I believe we all will have to take more accountability for the way we move and live in life, online and offline. I just think that we're all going to be, we're going to have to take more responsibility for our personal lives. So decentralization, I believe, is the way of the future. So those are just some of the words and ideas I have about Web3.
Amazing, brilliant. And I love, and the future will be decentralized. And honestly, I love that. And I also want to say that I love the taking more responsibility. I think that's definitely one that we'll also come back to. Everything we'll come back to, but I think that's right. That I really love too, taking more responsibility for our individual behaviors and actions. And that's one of the things that Web3 really does enable.
Yeah.
But Tammy, thoughts, ambitions?
Yeah. Oh, so, when I found Web3, it wasn't long. It didn't take me long to realize, that the opportunities and possibilities for women, well, for everyone, but women especially, were just so vast. And so my ambition is to continue to use my voice in ways that I can spread the word to as many women as possible to really understand what's happening, and that the careers, the opportunity to transition and pivot our careers and make a new life for ourselves is here. And it's not as scary as it may seem to learn something new. And I think that especially for a woman like me who experienced trauma and I was had a disability diagnosis in 2018 and told that I couldn't work again. And now here I am. And I work for MetaCampus now. And I use my voice to let more women know what is out there. And my ambition is to continue to do that as much as possible.
Honestly, it's amazing. There we go. That's it. Like, jump in, Sharonda, at any point, because it's amazing. Like, this is for me what makes. We are three women from two different countries, different states, and we have come from very different backgrounds. But then you start to hear the ambitions, and it's just inspiring for me about how we've all got here, and actually what drives us. It's that bit of like what gets us out of bed, don't you think? Of why do we get up at, like, I'm going to say 7 o'clock, but I know Sharonda's just going to bed after working night shifts. Yeah. But it's like, why do we do those things really? And it's, and we all do it because we need to live and we need to earn money and be able to do all of that stuff. But we could do many things to do that stuff, I mean, to invest in this, I think is a really significant and a demonstration of our passions, because nobody comes to the world of Web3 and says, oh, I know how to do it. And just tomorrow is doing it. And it's really easy. the world of Web3, I mean, for me in the last, I'm going to say like 14 months have been, oh my gosh, what a journey. Like I literally, sometimes I just want to say, I just want to go back to my old job where I knew how to do everything. I felt kind of safe. It just, and I don't want to, but I literally, my partner works in the same job that we used to do. And I sometimes am envious because I know how to run committees. I know how to write elected member papers. I know how to plan things. And suddenly, I'm in this world, and every day, literally every day, I am learning. Today, I was having to just learn how to set the resolver on an ENS domain so I can have my ENS. So it is, and we'll come to all of that, everyone. If anyone's in the room and they're like, what the heck is a resolver on an ENS name? Yeah. But so for me, it has been such a journey. Well, it's not, that sounds like it's ended. It hasn't. It is a journey every single day. Yeah. But my ambitions are filled with that everybody gets to learn. I kind of want to still a bit of what Sharonda said about people taking responsibility. What my ambitions is that the world changes through the Web3, that we become like more equitable as a world, but we find ways to be more accessible to everybody, to be more inclusive, and to make sure everyone's safe. So for me, I always still that, for me, they're my 3 words when everyone asks me, like accessible, inclusive, and safe. They're the most important things, but they're all wrapped around everything that we've all just said. So important. My ambitions are that we unlock potential, that we rebalance the economics of the world, and we literally make sure that everyone is taking responsibility for what they do and how they do it, and that therefore we are living in a decentralized way. I am stealing Sharonda's words forever now. Yeah, future will be decentralized. Excellent. That's what I think. Yeah, that's for me, like where I'm at with what's my ambition. So any thoughts, anything you want to add, Sharonda, Tammy, before we truck on? It's like big subjects that we're taking in a 5-minute window, so we will come back to all of these over the few months, everyone. But any thoughts?
No, I will say that Web3, like for you, what you just mentioned, it kind of highlighted my passions, and it brought out skills that I never even knew I had. So many things as a child that I did as a, I was an orator in elementary school, and all those childhood things, creatives that I never really felt comfortable with. Web3 has forced me to do those things at scale. And so I just wanted to mention how much I've learned and grown as a person because of Web3 and the different skills that it has helped me to like just polish up and be a better person overall. So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yeah, that's and for me that's so important, Sharonda, isn't it? Because also it shows about who we are too, because learning each day is pretty exhausting, to be honest. Sometimes I'm like exhausted because I know I'm going to have meetings with people and they're going to ask me something, and I'm going to go like, oh my God, I had a podcast the other day and somebody was asking me something, and I knew that if they asked me the 5th or 6th question, I was skating on thin ice on.
I have to say, when you were speaking, what jumped out at me is the fear factor, right? And I heard one time it was said that every time that we experience fear, when we're about to do something, it means that we're about to go through a major personal growth, and it scares us. And so to push past that fear will bring exponential growth to us. And so I've always kept that in the back of my mind, because in Web3, or when you transition, you are going to experience a fear of like, I don't know if I can get that. And you can. And when you do, it's amazing the personal growth and the journey that I've been on in the last year and a half. And I'm so grateful that I pushed past that fear and told myself I can do this. It's a way to kind of transition from that self-negative talk to self-positive talk. And you really experience that in Web3.
You know, I think and honestly, I mean, I'll keep jumping in because as you both know, I'll talk forever, but literally any time, like just unmute, jump in. But it is that bit of, as you just said, Tammy, it's a forever journey, isn't it? Like that's the bit that I notice. Like when I might have learned to do my other job. Now you do always grow as a human being. How you do something as a leader, we're leading a way and then we experience something and we lead slightly differently. But actually, what I find is because we are moving to a new iteration of the internet, it's not done and dusted. It's not, here is everything sorted. Now just get on and learn it. It's here it is today. And oh, we found out a new way that you could add. So actually, you got to go back to school and learn again, or you got to go back to the class. And I think for us, I mean, I spent the first, I'm going to say, yeah, I mean, I'm still like learning things all the time. But for the first probably 6 to 8 months, just looking at every single thing. And then I felt really bad when I had to go back to someone. I mean, especially like the guy I work with, Perry, I used to have to go back to him and go, can you tell me what this means again? Or what does that mean? Or why? And however much, like, you don't want to always do that as a person. You don't always want to be reliant on someone. But to be honest, there is no concrete answers for some of this stuff because it is evolving. And that's a really important message that we have to give to people all the time. When you come looking for what Web3 looks like, remember, we don't have a symbol that says Web2 across everything we use at the moment. Actually, it's the new, the next generation of the internet. And therefore, as tech evolves, it's going to keep bringing more things to us. And we're going to be able to do it differently. But
yeah, that's one of the things that I'm always very mindful of with the DAO. I'm always very mindful of using the word experiment when I'm onboarding the nurses, and when I'm talking to them, I'm always saying, right now, this is an experiment. This has never been done before. We don't know how this is going to grow. We don't know how this is going to develop. I can't make any promises to you, but I believe in it. And so I think that being honest about that is very important. Being honest that this is still very novel. This is still very new. And I can't make you any promises, you know, but I do believe that this technology can change the world. And maybe together we can find out how to do that. So I'm always very, very careful to use that word experiment, especially in reference to DAO.
It's a really good word, isn't it? Experiment. And just out of interest, Shonda, like, what kind of response do you get?
Honestly, there are some people that shy away. Most people aren't that adventurous, but the people that latch on, my God, they are so enthusiastic because they're new and it's an opportunity. And I had to be okay with maybe only 1 or 2, or even right now there's about 7 nurses that really, really get it. And I had to accept that that's okay, Sharonda. Like 100 people won't get it overnight, because it's still like even a dream to you, you know? So like, I'm very grateful for the 7 people that get it, and I'm just going to keep working with them, and we'll keep getting more and more and more. But yeah, I had to lower my expectations, because when you do, yeah, right. When you do say how many people are really, people want things that work today. So when you say like, this is the long haul, we may be doing this for the next 2 years, you know, before we really see any, when you start saying that, people shy away, but it shows you really committed. And I like that.
Yeah. And that's a good thought, because I think of all how my life is filled with now at the moment, that I live in this world with all these amazing people who have all of this creativity, innovation, ideas about what we can do and how we can do things differently, not just in our everyday to-day lives, but in the world's life, how we can really change it. And then I have a conversation with anybody other than that, And literally, they just look at me as if like, what are you even talking about, Alison? I mean, I have a range of a whole wall of pictures behind me, and I literally reverted to printing my NFTs out. So when someone said, "What is an NFT?" I could show them it on my wall, and therefore you could have a different conversation. But literally, as you say, it's like, it's really about, and that's the bit about doing this session, like what Ben and Frank are doing, what Sharonda's doing, like what Tammy did before, what she's doing now, it's all about how do we ignite people's interest in this and get them to take that kind of step into the unknown, which does come to our next word in terms of if we've looked at our ambition, and we could do a whole kind of few hours on that, but actually it's very much, it is that feeding into, isn't it? How do we get people to step into the unknown? And therefore, how do we ensure, for me, this new iteration of our world that we are moving into is inclusive? And for me, it's like, well, what the heck does inclusion mean? Any takers on that? Any thoughts on what inclusion means?
Well, I'm going to say, I think that it's going to mean something different to each person from their own personal experience. If you ask me, what does it mean for inclusion in Web3, or what we're experiencing now, whether you want to say Web3 or the next generation of the internet, what does that mean? For me, inclusion means possibilities. And that's the first word that pops up, because I think of, and I relate this to women because I am, a 52-year-old woman who experienced a life-changing experience where, my career was taken from me because of an accident. And so I think a lot of us identify who we are by what we do, right? You always say, you meet someone and you're like, what do you do for a living? Because that's how we identify. That's who we are. We relate ourselves to that. And so when my career, when I was told that, I had a disability and that it would affect how I worked, it changed who I was. And so now there's so much opportunity for people to come in and change the way that we work. It's remote, and you can work with people from different countries, and there's so much opportunity here to kind of shift and mold your lifestyle into a career in this new generation, that I think the opportunities for like stay-at-home moms, disabled moms, all kinds ranges of people. So possibility is what comes to mind. Yeah.
Okay, Sharonda, any takers on possibility, other things, or first thoughts for you when you hear that word inclusion?
Thank you so much for sharing that, Tammy. I appreciated that, and I appreciated all the different women that you highlighted in that. When I think of Web3 and inclusion, I like to use the reference of The Walking Dead, and I'm not sure if anyone has seen The Walking Dead before, but in The Walking Dead, communities were built around similar interests. There were communities that were all very gothic, and The Walking Dead is a series, if you've never seen it before, I don't recommend it. It's a horror movie, but it's after the apocalypse, and basically different communities are formed based on different interests. And so when we talk about inclusion, I like to highlight that people normally want to be included by people that are like them. The issue, I think, in Web3 is equity. When you talk about broadband services, when you talk about even setting up a wallet and having crypto. So I believe that in Web3, we all can find a community that has like-minded interests. But I think that us pioneers need to work to make sure that it's equitable for the disabled, for the unbanked, for maybe even the illiterate, for those that this information is not available to. And that's something that I'm really passionate about doing this year, is like going out to farmers that could be selling their their fruit and vegetables via crypto on the side of the road, like, because those are the people that I think this will change their lives the most. So inclusion, I think we all can find somewhere where we fit in Web3. I think it's a very inclusive environment right now, but equity, I think, is very important. And I also just want to mention, like, when you have those opportunities to maybe include someone that would not be included, take those opportunities. So that's my take on inclusion and equity.
And I think that is the most important thing, isn't it? We are 3 women that we will all, if we were asked to write down our first thoughts on the word inclusion, we would all write it differently, and that's going to be informed from our own experience, or also our own kind of mindset of how we see things, or how we approach. It's going to be informed by all of that, isn't it? Like, when I hear the word inclusion, it's interesting, even though I'm a highly positive person, not that I'm just having to convince everyone of that, but actually I often feel it's like quite negative, because I see the opposite. The reason we need inclusion is because the world is so like full, or like it's so exclusive the way it works. It's like, even you can't come into our club because you don't have this knowledge set. Even Web3, we've got a real danger here. We've got something that's so new and so amazing, but if we don't allow and enable people to understand it, in itself it will become exclusive, won't it? Because we're actually, to get your head around crypto, I mean, I go to so many sessions on crypto because I wanted to understand it. And I have to say, it's like, in the main, it could have been that I was going to the wrong places, but it was mainly men. And I felt silly just asking the same question, And actually, then that becomes, I don't want to engage in crypto because I think I can't ask the questions, or that's not my expertise, money. So I'm not going to, if fiat wasn't, I'm going to stay away from crypto. And we need to be. So I often see inclusion about, we've really got to break all of the ways that we've been working, because the world is so it is so unequal, and it's so much is geared towards certain groups, and it disadvantages so many. So whether it's those people who don't even have any internet, and how actually they therefore can't get in. So that's where, for me, whenever anyone asks me on a podcast, what's the big thing? I believe strategically governments should be taking the responsibility to make sure the internet is as available as gas, electricity, and water, because it is a way of living. It's not an option anymore. It's not an added bonus. It's not, oh, if you want to, you can live without the internet. You cannot live without the internet. And therefore it must be that famous word we all use in Web3 quite a lot, utility. It must be one of like the 4 important utilities that exist in the world. And for me, that's really, really important. We have to be driving through that. And that's why I think every time we talk about this, we have to talk about it. What does it mean for an individual? What does it mean for a group? And what does it mean at that really strategic level? And we need all of us to be talking at those different levels. So, but Jennifer's got her hand raised. So I was going to ask her as one of our few audience to start with. Jennifer, thoughts that you wanted to share?
Yeah, so this kind of ties in, like, was what I've been finding for our values, was basically my startup in Web3, and then also with the community I'm building here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. What I found, what really helped with that group growing, is that people from all backgrounds, diverse backgrounds, their opinions and skills are highly valued. And we are literally sitting around a table every meeting, where everyone's plans and ideas are valued in the conversation. That to me is showing that inclusion is in action and in work. And that's something that I want to bring out also with what I'm doing in the art and animation field, is making sure that people of all diverse backgrounds, people like me and everyone else in this room, are represented on a screen, and also in the background too is their opinions and initiatives is also heard for the drawing board in the writing process, making sure that their views are reflected into the final work also. So it's really exciting to see that, and ties into what you're saying with introducing each other and the ambitions of actually seeing more of that in action and growing communities around that basic value, because that strengthens the core of what makes it valuable to be in that community to begin with, and the ultimate takeaway from it to make sure that you feel like a decent, valuable human being that's in that situation, making sure that you increase your interactions with other people too with more positivity, and it feeds into each other for that.
That's awesome, Jennifer. Can we know more about your project? What is your project?
Well, I have many projects actually. So I would say, what are my many initiatives? So for starting off with my startup animation company, we're working on multiple projects for either animations for NFTs or designing metaverse worlds. And the other project is I would say is our guild, our organization called Grand Strand Web3 Guild. I started recently of August of 2022. Just so that we can start building up and have a community of people with like-minded Web3 minds, because it doesn't exist in South Carolina, and Tammy would probably understand that too since she lives near me. And it actually turned out to be a success, and we're organizing our first big expo event to happen sometime next year in the fall, so that we can bring in speakers and people and workshops and make it like a huge South by Southwest / the Central Land / Art Basel level that's never been before seen. And so we're super excited. And this week we're actually going to talk with City of Myrtle Beach officials and start planning, okay, here's what we need to do to renovate downtown Myrtle Beach and start turning it into something bigger than itself, and turning a huge tech center and bring in investors, bring in big companies and all the people from around the world, make it combined with fashion and art. So it's super big. It's now hitting me like, this is really huge. This is like international level that we're getting into. So I hope I gave you a little bit of that in a nutshell, Sharonda.
No, that was great. Thank you. And I wish you the best. That would be awesome for Myrtle Beach.
So, but I think that's what you described though, Jennifer. It's like, it's the wholeness of it, isn't it? This isn't about, the new internet is not about one particular thing. And I think sometimes that's why it's even harder for people to get their head around it, because as humans, we like to say, oh, this is what something is about. So it isn't just how we're going to pay for things in the future. It's not just about crypto. It's not just about art that people could have said, oh, okay, so I can get that kind of art bit, or the NFTs or the ownership or all of that. It's that kind of metaverse environment that you've also talked about building, or it's that bit. It's actually every single piece of life is going to be different. And I kind of feel like sometimes I can't emphasize that enough. I've started a new story on LinkedIn, because I do LinkedIn a lot, to kind of on the whole ambition of how do I help people who are not in Web3 come into Web3? How do I make it come alive? Yeah. So I started a new story I had a new baby born yesterday in the Web3 world. Yeah. And I'm starting this whole new story now of actually, I'm a newborn and I have my new ETH address. I am 22, 23. So that was yesterday's date. And therefore, actually, now I've been recorded on the blockchain. Actually, I've got and I'm going to build it up each day, because I want people to see my health record is going to go on the blockchain. Yeah, I'm actually, my birth certificate next week is going to be on the blockchain. Yeah, so every single week, I have to tell you,
That's wonderful, Allison.
I'm using my daughter's baby pictures.
Yeah, that's a really great idea, because you can show the birth certificate, then when the child is 16, the driver's license, and then their credentials when they graduate from college, and it's
even more, isn't it? I've got a picture, like next week's picture is my daughter with her grandpa. You can't see his face, so it's fine. And she's a little baby. She said it's okay. Nobody will know it's her unless don't tell anyone, guys. I'll be in trouble. Okay, I'll be in trouble. But like literally, and then it's like this picture is now going to be stored on there. So I don't have to worry that will I find it, or say if something happened and won't ever. But we once lived in an apartment and there was a fire. Just say it had been a serious thing and you've lost all of that. She's lost all those beautiful images. Yeah, even the little nursery notes when she went to play school. I found these all because I went digging yesterday. And there's all this is what she did today, or this is she slept. And I was like, I'm going to do little stories just to kind of, I'm doing it not for the people who are in Web3. I'm doing it to try to say to those people, this is what it's really about. Yeah, but forget about, I don't mean forget, but don't worry that people talk about crypto. Don't worry that people talk about the metaverse. This is about these amazing tools that have been created by people who want to help people take responsibility for their actions. Thank you, Sharonda. And like literally to really change how we live. And we'll come back to that loads, because we're kind of 6 minutes before the end, and we haven't kind of we were going
I
to
do have to say
on.
though, I just want to jump in real fast because I'm listening to you, and I think what you're doing, that's brilliant, because so many people just think about NFTs. Web3 means NFTs, and I don't want to be involved in that because it's all these, or the negative connotation with crypto. It's a scam and this and that, and I think that what you're doing is opening people's eyes to the bigger picture, what we're really doing here, in the innovation, the creativity, and just the future. Because like Sharonda said, it is not slowing down. Technology is advancing at such a rapid rate, and if people can get in now and learn, and just the changes that are going to be made, I think what you're doing is brilliant, Allison. I love it.
Oh no, sister, but no, you've got to help me though, because every time if you have ideas, anybody, I'm like, oh, you could do this, yeah, like just tell me, and then or you can throw it into. But somebody responded, so I wrote back to them as my 22-23 I am, and said oh, the first note, and I minted it, and I just sent it back to them. So if you go to my OpenSeas account now, you can see, if you put in I am like 22-23, in that you'll see my baby picture, you'll see my first note from somebody on the virtual world, which I've minted and sent back to them. And I'm gonna do that, because I just think I want every teacher to know. I want every person who is responsible for strategically planning things to go, oh shit, we could really empower the world. Imagine every kid who grew up in foster care, who didn't have all of their documents, could have all their documents on the blockchain. Imagine everyone who's had to flee war. Honestly, it's amazing. We could do so much. So any ideas, guys, tell me and I'll add it to my story. But Jennifer, jump in.
I was actually making the applause right there, but yeah, I think that every time I go talk with other people or go to an expo, that people are talking about, oh, let's put real estate information on there, let's put medical records on there. And there's a recent post also on LinkedIn that you commented on, also was about domestic violence reporting. As I myself, as a survivor, resonate with that. It's like, I wish there was a blockchain solution, because all these survivors, other people, the horror stories I met, a lot of the trauma and pain and financial hardships they're facing could have been mitigated or
Yeah.
could have been solved if there was a better solution for that. So I think that, like, since that's like one of the biggest human rights issues with domestic violence, I think that should be something that should be concentrated on as a big solution right now.
Yeah. And I do love that. And if anyone hasn't looked at the post, they should go have a look. It's a post around how it's used in that. And I think I use that as an example often around how if people who are experiencing domestic abuse, if we had a normality of using the blockchain for storing identity, for storing our kids' records, for storing our money, then actually for somebody to leave that environment, that doesn't mean that that's easy, but it takes away a lot of the fear factor of why people might not. It gives them access to things once they're able to make that transition. So, but on that, I am literally, I do just want to introduce our next concept, and I'm going to introduce it, and then next time, I really would like us to come back to it, if that's okay, everyone. I know we were going to kind of do it all. We thought we were being a bit ambitious today that we'd get through all these. I think Sharonda and Tammy said to me, we're going to cover all of those in that short time. I was like, of course we can. So I want to start by just putting up this slide. Thank you, Tammy, for drawing that together. And I think everything I've heard today, even what Ben and Frank have been doing, what we've heard Jennifer talk to, for me, every single person in this world is taking risks. Yeah. The conversation that Sharonda, you talked about of like introducing Nurse Dow to nurses, and it's a massive risk, really, of doing that. Yeah, invest in your own time. You're investing so much of yourself in that. And I think everything that we're all doing. Yep. And so for me, I really think that often we should give more recognition to everybody in this space is taking risks. But when we do take risks, actually what often happens is we find people. So we find people like we have here today. We are gathering as a group, as individuals. We have different relationships now. We're building bridges, like, I mean, I'm going to say we're building bridges across the water, but we're also building bridges in terms of like the work that Sharon, I see very much about building bridges of giving nurses power to take back control and showing them how to do that. Building those bridges between nurses and strategic officers. I mean, everything we are all doing and have been describing, I feel we're building a bridge. Everything we do at MetaCampus, we're building a bridge between like the current and the future and helping people go along that. So for me, there's all of this. And so all of that, though, you can't do any of that. You don't take risks, you don't build bridges if you don't break new ground. And the problem is when you break new ground, it can feel quite isolating. For me personally, I think it can feel quite isolating sometimes. As I said earlier, I talk to anyone in real life and they kind of laugh at me. What are you doing? And I guess for me, this is all described, these three words that we've used, these three images, is as edge walkers. And I loved this word. It's not my word. It's a woman called Judy's view of edge walkers, Judy Neal, and it's amazing. I heard it on a podcast and how it describes people very much in organizational, people who are challenging and making change in organizations. But I thought it related to our world. So I wanted to introduce the concept here, and I wanted to really invite us to next time maybe really spend a lot of time talking about some of these things, some of the risks we're taking, some of the bridges we're building, and the new ground that we're breaking. That was my thought.
That's wonderful. That's just a wonderful way to like segue into the next one, because I feel like we've done a really great intro, and then I feel like the Edge Walkers is like the best next step. So yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. This has been great.
That is so cool. Tammy, how's that for you?
I can't wait to discuss it, because I think, we're constantly walking between the two worlds right now. We are definitely relating still to a lot of people in generation 2 internet, web 2 internet, and transitioning into web 3. And I think that the more that we use our voices and what we have learned to try to help people transition and walk between those two worlds. I love the term edge walker.
I do. Thank you. So that is so brilliant. So I am going to, I was going to say I'm going to stop sharing, but I think I'm suddenly going, I don't know how to do that. oh, it's up here. It's up here. I've done it. I've done it.
No, sometimes it gets hidden. The share screen thing goes away. I'm like, oh no, we're live. It's happened to me many times.
I couldn't find it. So seriously, I mean, I do want to say like a massive thank you to Sharonda and Tammy for agreeing to kind of to do this, for the three of us to kind of have these monthly sessions. I'm really looking forward to kind of marching forward from here, and inviting more and more people as we go along, and to see what happens. So for me, saying thank you very much. Thank you, Ben, for hosting us and for getting us started. And thank you for Jennifer for showing up, for supporting us. Really do appreciate that.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Allison, and everyone for being here. This was an awesome first session. Everyone be sure to join the Mighty Networks. We'll keep the conversation going. We don't need to just wait till next month to keep this conversation. Let's keep this flowing, because this is good stuff. So let's keep talking and let's keep including each other in the conversation. And then next month, we're going to jump into Edgewalkers. So stay tuned, everybody. Thank y'all for being here and have an amazing day.
Thank
all right.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, good week.
Bye.